I didn't notice him at first. That's the strange part. If something truly doesn't belong, you'd think it would stand out immediately, but it didn't. It blended in, quietly. The flight was already delayed by nearly an hour. Snow had been falling since early evening, thick enough to coat the windows of the terminal and mute the noise outside. By the time boarding finally started, most people were tired, irritated, and ready to sit down and disappear into their seats. I was flying home after a 3-day work trip. Nothing exciting. Just meetings, cheap hotel coffee, and long days. All I wanted was to get home, shower, and sleep in my own bed. I boarded with Group C and found my seat near the middle of the plane. Economy. Aisle seat. Seat 18C, the row was empty when I arrived. I put my backpack under the seat in front of me and sat down. The cabin lights were still bright. People were shuffling past, bumping elbows, apologizing without really meaning it. The usual. I remember thinking the plane felt quieter than normal. Not silent, but muted. Like everyone was already half asleep. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. We were still waiting on a few passengers. That's when the man sat down next to me. I didn't see him arrive. One moment the seat was empty. The next he was there, already buckled in, facing forward. He was maybe late 30s or early 40s. Clean-shaven, dark jacket, nothing unusual, no smell of alcohol, no nervous energy, just still. I glanced over instinctively, the way you do when someone takes the seat beside you. He didn't look back. His hands were folded neatly in his lap. No phone, no book, no earbuds. Just sitting, staring straight ahead at the back of the seat in front of him. "Long night," I said casually, mostly out of politeness. No response. I assumed he didn't hear me or didn't feel like talking. Fair enough. I turned back to my phone. A few minutes later, the flight attendant walked down the aisle doing a final head count. She stopped briefly at our row, glanced down, then continued without saying anything. Nothing strange about that. The plane pushed back from the gate. The lights dimmed slightly. Engines hummed louder. I leaned back and closed my eyes. That's when I realized something felt off. The man next to me hadn't moved once. Not when the plane started taxiing. Not when the safety video began. Not even when the seatbelt sign chimed on. Most people shift, adjust, cross their legs. He didn't. I opened my eyes and looked again. Still the same position, still staring forward. I noticed something else then. There was nothing under the seat in front of him. No bag, no backpack. No jacket stuffed down by his feet. That's unusual but not impossible. Maybe he checked everything. The safety demonstration ended. The flight attendant came by to check seatbelts. She paused at our row again. She looked at me, then at the empty tray table, then moved on. She didn't look at him. I told myself I was overthinking it. Takeoff was rough. The plane shook through the clouds, turbulence rattling the overhead bins. I gripped the armrest without realizing it. The man beside me didn't react at all. No tightening of his hands, no shift in posture, nothing. We leveled off. Cabin lights dimmed further. The soft glow of overhead panels replaced the brightness. Most people around us started settling in, headphones on, eyes closed. The drink cart came through about 20 minutes later. The flight attendant stopped at my row. "Something to drink?" she asked me. "Water, please." She handed me a cup. Then she paused, looking at the seat beside me. "Sir," she said, slightly louder. The man didn't respond. She frowned slightly, glanced down the aisle, then moved on without taking an order. I watched her walk away, my stomach tightening. Maybe he was asleep, but his eyes were open. I took a slow sip of water and tried not to stare. A few minutes passed. Then I heard him breathe. It wasn't loud, just deep and slow. Controlled, like someone pretending to sleep while staying very awake. I shifted in my seat, uncomfortable now. I could feel his presence more than see it. The space beside me felt heavy. I pulled my phone out again, mostly to avoid looking at him. No service, of course. I locked the screen and slid it back into my pocket. That's when he turned his head. Slowly, just enough to look at me. His eyes were dark, focused. Not angry, not friendly, just empty. He didn't blink. We locked eyes for maybe 2 seconds, then he turned back to face forward. My heart was pounding now. I told myself to relax. People are weird on planes. Some don't talk, some don't move. But this felt different. When the meal service came, small snack bags and drinks, the same thing happened. The flight attendant handed me a bag of pretzels. She skipped him, didn't even acknowledge his existence. I waited for her to leave before leaning slightly toward the aisle. "Excuse me," I said quietly to another attendant passing by. "I think the guy next to me didn't get anything." She looked at the empty seat. "I'm sorry. The passenger next to me," I said, pointing. She frowned, glanced at the row, then at her tablet. "There's no one assigned to that seat." My mouth went dry. "He's sitting right there," I said. She followed my finger. Her eyes lingered for a moment. Then she looked back at me, confused. "Sir," she said slowly, "that seat is empty." I turned. The seat beside me was empty. The man was gone, no movement, no sound, just gone. I stared at the seatbelt, still buckled. The indentation on the cushion was still there. My heart was racing now. I must have looked pale because the attendant asked if I was feeling okay. I nodded, didn't trust my voice. She walked away. I sat frozen, staring at the empty space beside me for the rest of the flight. When we landed, everyone stood up, grabbing bags, crowding the aisle. No one stepped out of that seat. No one brushed past me from that row. I waited until the plane was almost empty before standing. As I reached for my backpack, I noticed something on the seat next to me, a folded boarding pass. I picked it up with shaking hands. The name was smudged, hard to read. The seat number was clear, 18B. I handed it to the gate agent as I exited. She looked at it, then at her screen. "That seat was never scanned," she said. "Then how did he get on the plane?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just threw the boarding pass away. I didn't sleep that night. Sometimes when I'm on a plane now, I still feel like someone is sitting next to me, quiet, unmoving in a seat that doesn't exist. The woman in the window seat kept checking her watch. At first, I thought she was just nervous about flying. Some people do that, look at the time every few minutes like it might somehow speed things up. But after a while, it started to feel desperate. This was a late-night flight, just after midnight. A short domestic trip that should have taken less than 2 hours. The cabin lights were dim, most passengers already half asleep, wrapped in hoodies and blankets. I was in the aisle seat. She was at the window. The middle seat between us was empty. That should have felt like a small comfort. Instead, it felt like a space waiting to be filled. She wore a light gray coat, too thin for the season. Her hair was pulled back, slightly messy, like she'd rushed to the airport. No headphones, no phone in her hands, just that watch. Every few minutes she lifted her wrist, checked the time, then looked straight ahead. She hadn't spoken to me since boarding. No greeting, no nod, nothing. I didn't mind. I planned to sleep the whole way. About 15 minutes after takeoff, the seatbelt sign turned off. A few people stood up. The low hum of conversation started and then quickly died down again. That's when she leaned toward me. "Did they say what time we land?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, almost strained. I think around 2, I replied. "Maybe a little after," she nodded, eyes drifting back to her watch. "That's late," she said. "Yeah," I said. "Not too bad though." She didn't respond. A minute passed. Then she asked, "Have you ever been on a flight that didn't land?" I laughed lightly, thinking it was a joke. "No," I said, "I don't think that's how flights work." She didn't smile. "I was on one," she said. I glanced at her, unsure how to respond. "Emergency landing?" I asked. "No," she said, "it just never arrived." Her fingers tightened around her wrist. I told myself she was tired, maybe anxious, maybe just strange. "Probably just felt like it," I said gently. "Late flights can mess with your head." She looked at me then. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying for hours. "No," she said quietly, "this one feels the same." Before I could ask what she meant, she turned back to the window. Outside was nothing but darkness. The flight attendants came through with drinks. When they reached our row, the woman ordered nothing. Didn't even look up. I ordered water. As the attendant handed it to me, she glanced at the window seat, then hesitated. "Ma'am," she said. "Would you like anything?" The woman didn't respond. The attendant waited a second longer, then moved on. I noticed something then. There was no reflection of her in the window. At first, I thought it was the angle, the darkness outside. But when the plane shifted slightly and cabin lights flickered, I still couldn't see her reflection. I told myself I was imagining it. Planes make your brain do weird things. Time passed slowly, too slowly. I checked my phone, no service, still an hour to go. The woman checked her watch again. "This is where it happens," she whispered. "Where what happens?" I asked. She didn't answer. The plane hit turbulence. Not violent, but enough to make the overhead lights rattle softly. A few people stirred. Someone cursed under their breath. The woman didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked forward. Suddenly, the seatbelt sign came back on. The captain's voice crackled over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some unexpected conditions. Please remain seated." That was it. No explanation. The woman's breathing became shallow. "They didn't say anything last time either," she said. "Last time when?" I asked. She finally turned to face me fully. "Before the lights went out," she said. As if on cue, the cabin lights dimmed further, not fully off, just lower, emergency low. A few people looked around, confused. The engines sounded different now. Not louder, just strained. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. "This is probably normal," I said, more to myself than her. She shook her head. "It's never normal when they stop talking to you." Minutes passed. No announcements. The turbulence stopped completely. The plane felt like it was gliding, unnaturally smooth, too smooth. I looked around. Most passengers were awake now, whispering, checking phones, watching the flight attendants who were standing near the galley, speaking in low, tense voices. The woman checked her watch again. "We should have landed," she said. I looked at my phone. We were past the scheduled landing time, 10 minutes, then 15. No descent, no change in engine sound. I leaned forward and tried to catch a flight attendant's attention. Before I could, the woman grabbed my arm. Her grip was ice cold. "Don't," she said. "They won't answer." "Why?" I asked. "Because they already did," she replied. Her fingers loosened. I pulled my arm back slowly. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "I was on this flight before," she said. "Same time, same seats, same delay." "That's impossible," I said. She nodded. "That's what I told myself too." She looked around the cabin. "Some of them were here last time," she said. I recognized their faces. I followed her gaze. Everyone looked like strangers to me. Suddenly the captain's voice came on again. Short, flat, "Prepare for landing." No location, no runway, no time estimate. The plane began to descend. Relief washed over me. Real, physical relief. I looked at the woman, ready to say something, anything. Her seat was empty. The middle seat was still empty. The window seat was empty. No coat, no bag, no sign she'd ever been there. My heart slammed against my ribs. I looked down. Her seatbelt was buckled. The indentation in the seat cushion was still warm. The plane landed hard, rough. The wheels screamed against the runway. Applause broke out, nervous, scattered. We taxied in silence. When the doors opened, everyone rushed to get off. I stayed seated, staring at the empty window seat. As I stood, I noticed something tucked into the seat pocket, a boarding pass. The name was faded. The date wasn't today's. It was from 6 years ago. Same flight number, same seat. The gate agent didn't want to look at it. She took it anyway. "That passenger never made it to the destination," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" I asked. She met my eyes. "That flight was diverted," she said. "Mechanical failure." "Everyone survived, right?" I asked. She hesitated. "Everyone who disembarked," she said. "I don't take late-night flights anymore. And I never sit next to the window. Because sometimes the passenger beside you isn't trying to get home. They're just trying to land." The man never took his seat. That was the first strange thing. This was a full flight. Late evening, packed aisle to aisle. People were already annoyed. Overhead bins slammed shut, flight attendants rushing, that tired airport tension hanging in the air. Everyone had sat down. Everyone except him. He stood in the aisle near row 14, holding his boarding pass like he wasn't sure where he belonged. At first, I thought he was just confused. Some people panic on planes, some freeze when they can't find their row. But he wasn't looking around. He was staring straight ahead. I was seated 3 rows behind him, aisle seat. From where I sat, I could see the back of his head clearly. He didn't move. The flight attendant approached him with a polite smile. "Sir, can I help you find your seat?" He didn't respond. She repeated herself a little louder, nothing. Passengers started shifting, sighing, whispering. Someone muttered, "Come on, man." The attendant gently touched his arm. That's when he turned his head. Slowly, not startled, not confused, just slow. I saw his face for a moment. He looked blank. Not angry, not scared, just empty. "My seat is taken," he said calmly. The attendant glanced at his boarding pass. "Sir, you're assigned to 14C. That's where I'm standing," he replied. She smiled awkwardly. "No, sir, that's the aisle. Your seat is right here," she pointed. He looked down, then shook his head. "No," he said, "someone's already there." She looked at the seat. It was empty. "I assure you, sir, it's open," she said. He stared at the seat for a long time, then said, "He doesn't want me to sit." The attendant paused. "Who doesn't?" she asked. "The man," he said, "the one who was here first." A silence fell over the nearby rows. People were listening now. The attendant's tone changed, calmer, controlled. "Sir, please take your seat so we can depart." He didn't argue. He simply said, "If I sit, he'll notice me." That was when the second attendant arrived. They spoke quietly with him for a moment. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught fragments. Delay the flight, medical issue, security. Finally, the man stepped into his seat. 14C, the flight attendants looked relieved and moved on. But the moment he sat down, he leaned forward sharply like he'd just realized something awful. He grabbed the armrests. His breathing became shallow. "He's awake now," he whispered. The man next to him leaned away. I tried not to stare. The seatbelt sign turned on. The plane pushed back. Everything felt off. I noticed the man in 14C never looked at anyone directly. His eyes stayed fixed on the seat in front of him as if someone were sitting there. As we took off, he pressed himself back, trying to make space. The plane leveled out. The cabin settled. I hoped that was the end of it. It wasn't. About 30 minutes into the flight, the man raised his hand. A flight attendant came over. "Yes, sir." "He keeps leaning back," the man said. She looked confused. "Who?" "The man in front of me," he said. "He keeps leaning into my space." She glanced at the empty seat. "Sir, there's no one there." The man's voice trembled. "He doesn't like being ignored." The attendant crouched slightly, lowering her voice. "Are you feeling okay?" He nodded quickly. I was until he started talking again. The attendant straightened. "Sir, I'm going to ask you to stay calm. We're monitoring the situation." She walked away. The man didn't relax. He started whispering under his breath, over and over. "I didn't mean to take it. I didn't know it was yours." I couldn't hear anything else. The man beside him asked quietly, "Are you all right?" The whispering stopped. The man turned his head slowly. "You shouldn't talk to me," he said. The other passenger froze. "Why?" he asked. "Because he listens when people notice me." A few rows ahead, someone laughed nervously. Someone else stood up to use the restroom. The man in 14C flinched hard as they passed. "He's walking through him," he said. The flight attendants spoke again near the galley. One of them glanced back repeatedly. Then the captain's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We are handling a situation." That made things worse. The man started shaking. "He's angry now," he said. "I sat where I shouldn't have." 2 flight attendants approached him. "Sir," one said gently, "we need you to come with us to the back of the plane." He looked terrified. "I can't move," he said. "He won't let me." They helped him stand. As soon as he stepped into the aisle, he screamed. A raw, sudden sound. "He grabbed me," he shouted. Passengers gasped. One attendant nearly dropped his arm. "There's nothing there," she said firmly. "He's holding my shoulder," the man cried. "He doesn't want me to leave." The attendants guided him quickly toward the back. The moment he was out of sight, the cabin felt lighter, like pressure lifting. The flight continued in tense silence. No one spoke much after that. We landed early. Emergency vehicles waited near the gate. As we disembarked, I looked toward the back of the plane. The man wasn't there. I asked a flight attendant quietly what happened. She hesitated. "He wasn't on the manifest," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "No record," she said. "No boarding scan, no seat assignment." My stomach dropped. "But I saw his boarding pass." She shook her head. "There was no boarding pass," she said. "He was already on the plane when we boarded." I left the airport shaken. Weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. I searched the flight number. 6 months earlier, another flight on the same route had been diverted. A man had stood up mid-flight, screaming about someone sitting in his seat. He had a heart attack in the aisle. Row 14C, they say planes don't remember, but I don't believe that anymore. Some seats don't forget who belonged to them first. I didn't notice him when I first sat down. That's what still bothers me the most. This was a red-eye flight, past midnight, long haul. Most passengers looked exhausted before we even took off. Lights dimmed early. The cabin had that quiet, heavy feeling where everyone just wanted to sleep and wake up somewhere else. I was assigned a window seat near the back. Row 28, middle section. Not great, not terrible. The aisle seat was empty when I arrived. The middle seat was empty too. I remember thinking I got lucky. I stowed my bag, sat down, and put my headphones on. People were still boarding. The aisle was busy. I looked out the window, watching ground crew move slowly under the orange lights. That's when someone sat down next to me. I didn't look right away. I just felt the movement, the slight shift of the row, the armrest dipping, normal stuff. I assumed someone had taken the middle seat. I adjusted my headphones and stared forward. Then I noticed something strange. The armrest between us was still up. I glanced sideways. The middle seat was empty. No bag, no jacket, nothing. But the pressure was still there, like someone was sitting close enough to make the space feel smaller. I frowned and shifted toward the window. The pressure shifted with me. That's when I turned fully. The aisle seat was occupied now, by a man I didn't remember seeing board. He was thin, maybe late 30s, dressed plainly, dark jacket, no headphones, no phone, just sitting there, hands folded in his lap. He was facing straight ahead, not moving. I assumed I just hadn't noticed him earlier. People miss things when they're tired. Still, something felt off. He hadn't put anything in the overhead bin. No backpack under the seat. Nothing. The plane pushed back. Safety demo played. I stole another glance. He hadn't buckled his seatbelt. The sign was on. I leaned slightly away from him, pretending to adjust my jacket. He didn't smell bad. Didn't smell like anything at all. When we took off, his body didn't react. No bracing. No grip on the armrests. Just still. Once we were in the air, the cabin lights dimmed further. Most people closed their eyes. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. I kept feeling aware of him, not watching me, just there. After maybe 40 minutes, I heard him speak. Very quietly. "I think I'm in the wrong seat." I paused my music. "I'm sorry," I said. He didn't turn his head. "I don't think this was mine," he said. I checked my boarding pass. "This is 28A, I said. "Window," he nodded slightly. "I know," he said. "That's why it's strange." I waited for him to explain. He didn't. "You can check your boarding pass," I suggested. He looked down at his lap. "I don't have it anymore." "That happens," I said. "Maybe it's the aisle seat next row." He shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "I was already sitting when everyone came in." That didn't make sense. "I think you should ask a flight attendant," I said. He finally turned his head toward me. His eyes were tired, not crazy, just worn. "They already checked," he said. "They said this seat was empty." A chill crept up my back. "I'm sitting here," he added. I laughed lightly, trying to ease the moment. "Well, yeah. I can see that." He looked down again. "They couldn't," he said. Before I could ask what he meant, a flight attendant walked past. "Excuse me," I said quickly. "Sorry to bother you," she stopped. "Yes, the man next to me thinks he's in the wrong seat," I said. She looked at me. Then at the empty aisle seat. "Sir," she said gently, "is someone bothering you?" I stared at her. "He's right here," I said. She followed my gaze. "There's no one there," she said. The words didn't register at first. "What do you mean?" I asked. She smiled politely. "That seat is empty," she said. "You're seated alone." My heart started pounding. I looked again. The man was still there, still sitting calmly, still facing forward. He spoke softly. "That's what they said before." The attendant's smile faded slightly. "Sir, are you feeling okay?" she asked. "Yes," I said quickly. "I mean, no, he's sitting right there." She shook her head. "There's no passenger assigned to that seat," she said. We double-checked after takeoff. The man beside me let out a slow breath. "I told you," he said. The attendant asked me to come speak with her in the aisle. I stood up. As I did, the pressure lifted. The seat felt empty. I looked down. Nothing. The man was gone. My knees almost gave out. "What's going on?" I whispered. She guided me a few steps away. "Sir," she said calmly, "are you under a lot of stress?" "I was just talking to him," I said. "He was right there." She glanced back at the row. "Do you want to move seats?" she asked. "Yes," I said immediately. She relocated me a few rows forward. I sat between two sleeping passengers. I tried to calm myself. Maybe I was overtired, maybe I imagined it. But as I settled in, I noticed something else. The aisle seat in row 28 was now occupied by the same man. Same posture, same stillness. I froze. I stared down the aisle. He wasn't looking at me, but I knew he hadn't moved. I pressed the call button. Another flight attendant came. "There's a man in that seat," I said, pointing. "Row 28 aisle." She looked. "There's no one there," she said again. "I moved," I said. "He moved too." Her expression tightened. She spoke quietly into her intercom. Two attendants walked toward row 28. They stood there for a long moment. One of them touched the armrest. Nothing. They returned. "There is no passenger in that seat," one said. "We're going to ask you to rest." The man spoke again, louder this time. "I don't like moving," he said. Several passengers stirred. I felt my stomach drop. "He's talking," I said. "You heard that." The attendants looked at each other. "We heard nothing," one said. The captain's voice came over the speakers shortly after. The rest of the flight passed in tense silence. I never saw the man again. But when we landed, as people stood to get their bags, I glanced back one last time. Row 28. A single seatbelt was buckled. The aisle seat. No one in it. I asked a gate agent about the flight afterward. She checked the manifest. "There was no one assigned to that seat," she said. But what?" I asked. She hesitated. "That seat was involved in an incident last year," she said. "What kind?" "A passenger collapsed during turbulence," she said. "Died before landing." "Which seat?" I asked, though I already knew. "Row 28, aisle." She closed the file. "Sometimes people feel things when they fly tired," she said. "But I don't think tiredness buckles seatbelts. And I don't think empty seats complain when you take them. Some seats remember who never got up."